We make a lot of milk in this country. 2025 should see more than 21 million metric tonnes of the white stuff produced and made into milk powder, butter, cream, infant formula and cheese. No news there. But alongside all that cow milk, there's a small but perfectly formed boutique industry using other sources of dairy, making delicious products and changing minds about where milk can come from. Justin Gregory went to a water buffalo farm near Clevedon to meet some pioneers of a misunderstood market.
Hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful.
Now, the more observant among you will have noticed that this is not me, Justin Gregory. It's actually Carol Stiles getting friendly with a water buffalo calf. So the story you're going to hear today, it's not the first time Country Life have talked about water buffaloes. It's not even the first time I've talked about water buffaloes for Country Life. Oh, look at him.
A little boy.
Rightio. Hey, that's me, back in 2016, meeting a brand new calf and then walking amongst the fully grown adult water buffaloes in a paddock north of Auckland.
They will walk straight through a standard fence. But if there's a little bit of electric on it, they're great respecters of electric. They're a big animal that is very firmly grounded, so a little bit of electric goes a long way.
This is Phil Armstrong. We're on the farm he works with his wife, Annie Armstrong-Wills, and their family. Like Carol, he enjoys his buffaloes and he's got a keen sense of them as characters.
They like water. They will climb into a trough and bail enough water out of the trough to make a puddle on the ground beside you, and then they'll do a bit of a dance in it and then get upside down and roll around in it.
I did my first water buffalo story in 2016, and Carol Stiles told you all about her new favourite animals back in 2008.
They look very wild, don't they, with their big horns? Yeah, their horns and their scruffy coats.
Now, fair play to you if you think we're a bit obsessed with water buffaloes on this program. Now, I can't speak for Cosmo, Sally or Janina, but I kind of am. Because as farm animals go, they've got a lot of character and they're natural comedians. They're very charming.
Over there, they're washing their faces. You see them in the trough there.
Oh, they're just cleaning before their meal. This is Richard Dorresteyn, cheesemaker, water buffalo farmer. Richard and his wife Helen Dorresteyn own and manage Clevedon Buffalo Company, making all things water buffalo: feta cheese, marinated cheese, whipped cream cheese, yoghurt, meat pies, although we don't talk about the meat pies too loudly around the herd, and of course bocconcini and mozzarella. I'm here to tell you another water buffalo story because, despite Richard and Helen's herd, despite Phil and Annie's farm, Waireere Buffalo on the west coast of the South Island, and so on, people in New Zealand still seem to struggle to accept these animals and to eat their delicious products. I met Richard earlier in 2025 at a farm a few kilometres north of Clevedon, where they keep their milking herd. And now it's my turn to get gooey over some newborn calves in the shed. And we got 3 babies in front of us here. What are they about? How old are they? A few days old?
Well, looking at the tags, they're born last year, so they must be coming up to 2 weeks old.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
They're really, they're already a decent size, aren't they, for 2-week-old animals, but they're really quite beautiful animals, buffaloes.
They're lovely animals. They all look a bit different. They've all got their own personalities, and very, very. They love looking around what's going on. You can see these ones looking at what we're up to. Very inquisitive, I guess, and even the main herd, you can look through there, they're looking at us as well.
Yes.
What's going on,
yes,
yeah.
I can see a few eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the herd out there.
Yep, the main milking herd's here, and so on this block there's 60 acres, and we use it's just the milking platform and the young calves. And then they go from here, once they dry off, over to a runoff where we've got all the dry animals and also the first time calvers, which we'll be calving in the following October, I guess, yeah.
Shall we go and say hello?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah. It's pretty dry this summer.
Heading that way, it was a good start, but yeah, you can certainly see in the hills it's drying off now. We're over in the background there, you can see we're putting in a lot of sorghum grass.
Oh, yeah.
We get a few paradise ducks out here, unfortunately, and they've been hammering it. I just learned the other day that they're called flappers. I've got these ducks there that I've got a duck scarer down there, and that's banging away, and they're not flying because they're too young to fly, so they waddle out of the pond and eat the grass, and yeah.
Now we're about 10 metres away from the herd, the milking herd, you see?
Yeah, that's the main herd, milking herd.
Milking herd.
Yeah, they're all looking at us.
Yep, there's some heads up, some
And they're all very, very individuals. You can look at the size of their horns, and the larger the horns, the older the animal, obviously.
Right.
So this little one here is in front of us she'll be a first-time calver last October, and they just get bigger and bigger. And
Just off to one side there's a big old curved set of horns just hanging out by itself.
yeah, another lovely one there, and the
grandma or
bull's
something.
just coming around behind this one here.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he's
Whoa,
a little bit,
that's a
little
big
bit
boy.
bigger set here.
Yeah.
And he's about 4, so they don't get much bigger than what you're seeing him and the girls with the larger horns. It's about the size they get to, but they are quite a big animal.
Oh, the herd is stirring. Here they come. So we're just on the other side of a fence, and there's again, I think, an electric coil before here, and the herd is just moving calmly towards the troughs. Hopefully one will come down here and we'll get some sound of the meeting. Here they go. Oh yeah, and the smaller ones are at the back, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, they'll all come in.
Yeah.
Some of the young ones don't like coming down here because they get trapped in here and then they can't get out in a hurry.
One of the herd forgoes her feed for a moment to take a closer look at me and my microphones. Just keeps turning around and having a look at me before settling down to eat. And there you go, you're a bit happier now, aren't you? Don't think I'm going to bother you.
Yeah, and they've actually had plenty to eat out there too. I think
Yeah.
they just come in because it's just been fed out, but they certainly wait for it.
I should just take a minute to set the scene for you here. This farm, which the couple rents, is next door to Duda Regional Park. If you look to the east, you'll see Pōnui, Chamberlain Island, and to the north it's the southern end of Waiheke Island. It's a beautiful summer's day today here. It's hot, it's dry, and you might be surprised to find that owning buffaloes wasn't the plan when the couple moved to Clevedon. Here's Helen Dorresteyn.
Well, I had a little house in Ponsonby, and my husband's from Taupo, and he's a big man, big farming man, and he was just like a bear in a cage in Ponsonby, and I got a job. I had 2 offers. I had a job offer at Papakura High and a job offer in Orewa. I took the Papakura job, and funnily enough, we used to have a family batch at O'Reary Point when I was a kid, and I used to drive through Clevedon and think, I don't want to live here. and then...
We can edit that bit out later if you like. Yeah.
Hello, here I am, living and working in Clevedon. But I did always want to farm. Actually, one of my staff kids was asking me this morning, why I wanted to farm. And when I was a kid, my family come from Paparoa up north, and when I was a kid, Dad and Mum looked after a family farm up there for holidays, and it was the best holiday I ever had. And from that day forward, I always wanted to be a farmer. And careful what you wish for, I guess.
Helen mentioned her staff there, and she probably meant her farmers market staff, not her farming staff. And that's where I caught up with her earlier in the day at her market.
It's a weekly farmers market. We have produce from local vendors and a number of people that cook quality ready-to-eat food. The primary focus of the market is supporting local growers and food producers. Very important. We had done a little trip around the South Island in a camper van with the kids before they started school, and ate very well out of local markets and roadside stalls. Came back to home surrounded by green fields and farms and growers, and went to the local supermarket and thought, oh my goodness, I don't want to eat that. and saw glass houses falling into disrepair and decided that we needed one.
And as odd as it sounds, the farmers market was the reason why Helen and Richard wanted a herd of buffaloes in the first place.
So we wanted to make cheese primarily for the market, because getting regular cheesemakers was very, very hard, because they're like unicorns, there's not many of them. It's a very difficult business to become established. It's stacked against you. And we also thought that to make cheese, it had to be a little bit different, because there's a lot of cheese gets imported and is frozen and then defrosted and sent around. And whereas buffalo milk, it doesn't travel well, and the freshness is everything. So fresh buffalo milk cheeses, and buffalo milk is quite different. It's quite mellow and sweet.
Some Water Buffalo 101 for you. There are two types of domesticated water buffaloes. There's river buffaloes, or riverines, and swamp buffaloes, sometimes called swampies. While the animal originated in Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent, they're now found from Europe to Africa, through Asia, the Caribbean, China, Australia, and for the last 18 years or so, here in New Zealand. They're a little different to cows. Water buffalo milk is naturally A2. It has more fat and protein than dairy cows. It's got lower cholesterol levels too. And as Helen said, it's sweeter, it's whiter, and creamier than cow milk. And yep, as you've heard, buffaloes are big animals, a bit taller than cows and sturdier, broader, both boys and the girls. Their coats are longish, dark, with a bit of a reddish-brown tinge, and they do have those lovely big soulful brown eyes. Water buffaloes like water, obviously, while cows prefer a dry paddock, thank you very much. And there are other differences too, like digestion and heat management. Cows are a bit more chill overall, generally, as well. But it's the horns that really mark water buffaloes apart. They're long, curved, a little wicked looking, to be frank. There are videos out there of buffaloes dealing to lions by flipping them in the air. It's not pretty to watch. Helen and Richard imported their first herd of 60 water buffaloes just before Christmas 2007.
So the early days with the animals, we started with 5 milking out of the 60. So, they didn't all come on at once. Managing them in the shed, so we had to break them into milking, and that was really hairy, very hard for the Richard and another Richard who was working with us at the time to actually break them into milking and keep them calm. Then we had to learn how to wait the herd to summer, and honestly the cheese was absolutely trucking out at one point, and then Easter came first year, and we had no contingency. We just had mozzarella and ricotta, and boom, no sales overnight. And just all of those little things with running a business, building a brand, building demand, and having people actually come and buy your stuff. And we were bleeding money.
First milking herd, yep, but not the first water buffaloes here. There had been animals brought in for embryo transfer and some for meat, but no one had tried milking them before and then selling the products. Helen had to work hard to get them accepted in supermarkets and restaurants.
Quite honestly, people didn't know what it was when I started selling it, and they'd look at you in horror. It was a case of actually getting in there and getting it taken. But there were a few chefs that did know what we were doing. Peter Gordon, Tony Astle, the guys at SPQR, they were wonderful. They put us on the menu straight away. Tony bought 1 kilo a week for 2 years, and I don't even think he was getting through it. But he tried it, loved it, supported us, and I'm eternally thankful for that, because it's been much harder to break into the meat side of things than the cheese.
Like everyone, COVID hit their business hard, but 18 years in, things are going okay, thank you. Back at the farm, I asked Richard if he thinks there's a better understanding now amongst Kiwis of water buffaloes than before.
Well, you'd think there would be. We've been on Country Calendar, we've been in a lot of magazines, and been on Campbell Live, and I still meet people every day that have got no idea there's water buffalo in the country, and that you can actually drink their milk and eat their products from their milk. But to give you an example of it, I believe New Zealand milks about 5 million dairy cows. We're one of the biggest exporters. I'm pretty sure we are. But there's no way we're not the biggest dairy producer. So to give you an idea, what I'm saying is there's 5 million dairy cows. In Pakistan they milk 20 million dairy cows and 30 million water buffalo. In India there's more again. So India is the biggest milk producer in the world.
Talk me through the cycle of calving and milking. Is it continuous or?
We milk year round, so we're constantly calving. We tend to try and manipulate it so we get more milk when we want it in summer months. So from November onwards, we want the majority of our milk. Mm-hmm. And we do that a couple of ways. We may hold the bull out from the main herd. We have done a lot of AI work in the past, but now we're running a bull continuously with the herd. And we also bring in our heifers once a year, and we time that so they're all calving around October. So getting back to the milking, we milk year round, and basically we haven't stopped milking for 18 years. So each individual animal will dry off, and if it's a heifer it'll be 6 months, and then a good animal will be 8 months, and then it all goes through the same cycle again, having a calf, and away we go.
Why do you want most of it in summer?
I beg your pardon?
Why do you want most of it in summer?
Well, majority of our milk is put into cheese for mozzarella, and that's a summer type cheese.
Right,
So
okay.
and we've changed a few things around, and we're now doing a marinated cheese, and which lasts, it's got a longer shelf life. But it's pretty much everyone eats the majority of their cheese and products like that in summertime. I had this brainwave to make a dark egg ice cream, and so I looked up that these Indian runner ducks are the best producing egg-laying ducks, and so I got 8 eggs from a breeder on the North Shore, and then put them under the Muscovy to raise them, and it raised them, and I got 6 boys and 2 girls, and they're the most useless animal I've ever come across. In 2 years I haven't had 1 egg, because they apparently drop them as they run, and they eat and shit everywhere, and that's about all I've got out of them.
What do you know now that you didn't know 20 years ago when you started?
I know it's hard to make money out of making cheese.
Yeah.
But it's the duck banger going off in the background. I think I've realised that I really, really enjoy the farm. Helen thinks that I spend too much time on the farm, but what our dream would be to have our own farm and live on the farm, so that I'm not running off to this farm and checking. It's a big job to look after the milking block and then the runoff and our own property. So so hopefully we get there, and we're certainly going in the right direction at the moment, and looking at exporting, and so everything's hopefully coming right in 2025. Yeah.
This is a great life you guys have made for yourself out here, eh?
We like it, yeah, it's lovely. It's a lovely, lovely place here with the sea and the view.
Yeah.
It can be a bit of a rain shadow here. It can track around the Hanuas, and it can be raining halfway down North Road and not here, but with the different crops we put in, and we've expanded a little bit. We've got a bigger runoff now. We grow our own maize. I've just grown my own lucerne this year, and we purchased the mixer wagon so we can mix all the products up and then feed out in these feed bins. So we've got a pretty good system now.
The learning curve has been steep?
They have. It's been difficult, because especially with the cheese as well, because there's been no one to really ask.
Sure.
We've done a few trips to Italy, and so it's whenever there's a problem, it lands in my lap on how to fix it, basically, on the farm, or the factory.
And that's your electrical engineering past, yeah.
Yeah, well, that has been, it's been a great help, actually, because I built everything in the factory, built my own pasteuriser, and it's just that methodical way of trying to fault find, I guess, and it's like if you do get a problem with the cheese, and you've got to go through it and work out what's going wrong. But it's sometimes the simplest cheese and the hardest cheese to make mozzarella, because you've got one shot at it on that day. You've got to get it just the right pH. But what I have learnt about milk is I thought milk was milk, but you can get the period of the lactation. The early lactation is different to the mid or end lactation. Depends on what they're eating. So there's a few variations in it.
And what's the future hold? What's next? You got the export business going now.
Yeah, the big thing for me is a little goal I want to do is put out a really, really good blue cheese, and that's basically another whole factory. I'm trying to do something now in some containers and get it going. We did a trip in 23 to France because I love French blues, and so that's what I'm basing it on, and hopefully we can get that happening within the next 12 months. The thing with mozzarella is if you get it wrong or you want to tweak something, you can do the same thing tomorrow and you'll know your results instantly. But with a hard cheese or a blue cheese or anything else, or imagine making a Parmesan and you've got to wait 2 years and realise that you've got the salt level wrong. So so with a blue you got to, it's a lot easier if someone can show you how to do it, so it will be a bit of a learning curve, I suppose, not with our milk, and depending on if you want a creamy blue or a hard one, or how you want to push it, and see what happens.
Well, girls and boy, I will leave you to your lunch. Thanks for having us. Richard, best of luck.
Thank you so much
you.
for coming out. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Richard Dorresteyn in Clevedon. You also heard from Helen Dorresteyn, who owns and runs the Clevedon Buffalo Company with Richard, as well as the Clevedon Village Farmers Market. The story was produced by Justin Gregory with help from Carol Stiles and several very cooperative and charming water buffalo. You'll find photos from the story on our website, rnz.co.nz/countrylife.